Hi, and welcome to the Cute North Georgian Podcast. I'm your host, Carly McCurry, the senior editor of the Cute North Georgian magazine. I'm here to celebrate all the amazing things that North Georgia has to offer. So this is a podcast for North Georgians by North Georgians, where we highlight small businesses, local events, and the interesting people that populate our community. So if you're looking to discover something new, or if you just want to support local, then you're in the right place. So let's go ahead and dive into the best of North Georgia together. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce my friend and the owner of BSG Coffee, Staggs the show. He's a lean, mean, bean-slinging machine. Zach is the magic behind BSG Coffee. And as I like to describe him, he is a man of beans.
Some could say that, yes, that's a common nickname that I've been hearing, a man of beans.
Welcome, Zach.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so we'll just go ahead and dive right into just some background information. Can you share the story of how BSG Coffee came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So after the exit of my last business, I wanted to start something else that was not so heavily involved in a bunch of heavy lifting. We wanted to have something that was more face-to-face with the end user. And I had a list of different businesses that we were thinking about doing. And it came down to either a brewery or a coffee roaster. And when I decided to stop drinking, I don't think that being in a brewery was a good option. So we decided to go with coffee. I'm a big fan of it. I've loved coffee for about 10 years now. Before that, I thought it was just like a really tough to drink beverage that my parents would just kind of force down and add a bunch of cream and sugar to just to make it bearable. I thought it was just like a really dumb adult thing that they were all taking part of. And one day I tried some Kona coffee at a Costco, believe it or not. The kid that handed me the sample, I mean, I was about his age too, but the dude that handed me the sample didn't tell me much about it, and I just shot it back, and I was like, that is fantastic, man. What is that? And he just kind of looked at me and he was just like, it's coffee. And I was just like, okay. I was like, that's interesting. I've never had coffee that, actually tastes good. So got a bag, took it home, realized that it comes in whole beans. So I had to go back and grind it, and kind of fell in love with that part of the process and like the smell that it gave off inside of the car on the way home. And I think just like kind of the ceremony of making a cup in the morning, it's very quiet. There's nothing else going on. And it's just sort of something that kind of levels you out somewhat to like washing your hair, brushing your teeth, making a cup of coffee. It all kind of just flows throughout the morning routine and kind of has always just been a part of what I do. And then I've always had an office from my home, but I would always go to cafes and force myself to get done with my task list. And I realized that I liked hanging out in cafes a lot too. So I figured if we had a roaster that we would one day have a brick and mortar cafe to show off our awesome beans. And that's what we're sitting in now. This is, I guess, our flagship cafe on beautiful Hodges Street in downtown Cornelia. And we've been here since January. This is our second brick and mortar cafe. We had one in Hayesville, North Carolina. And then we closed it down May of this year to focus more on this shop. And I also live down the road from here. So traveling to North Carolina or here, it just seemed like most of our focus needed to come to this operation. It's a larger setup and a little bit more hands-on work is required. We're open in the evening. We do sandwiches. So it's just become a really complex endeavor that started out as just putting beans in a bag to going to events to now brick and mortar cafe. We sell wholesale and white label to other businesses and personalities and groups and committees. But yeah, it's just been a fun journey of going from getting a decision to start putting beans in bags to arriving here at a cafe in Cornelia, Georgia. So
would you say that the Costco man changed your life?
He did. And I hope that he's watching this. I hope that he is logged in and watching this podcast so he can get the thank you that he deserves. And if you're watching this,
is anything you want to say to the Costco man?
It's probably like Kyle or Kevin. I don't remember. But if you're watching, when you gave me that sample of Kona coffee, and I was the guy that looked so perplexed at the fact that it was just coffee in a cup. Thank you, man. You have made a lot of people happy because of that sample. So, regardless of what you do, that is a solid example of it's kind of like the butterfly effect, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Whatever the coffee equivalent is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what inspired you to get into, I guess it was the bean business first and then eventually into the coffee business?
Yeah, so it was the bean business in the beginning, and our initial hope was to be an online store, and that is extremely difficult. It is very hard to get someone to purchase a bag of coffee that they cannot smell or taste or look at or hold. It's a referral based thing, so we realized that we would have to get samples in front of people, or at least get the bags in front of people. So we started going to events. The first event I went to was a dog show in Braselton, Georgia, like where they would run and jump off this ledge into the water, and they would make, I don't know, I know there's a name to it, but I forgot. But it was probably a strange place for a coffee company to show up because most of the other vendors were dog related. So, and then the first person that was a potential customer walked up to our booths. My brother and I were super excited to be there and start talking to potential consumers of the coffee. And the guy goes, "Can I have a sample of this coffee?" And I kind of looked at him and I was just like, "Damn, that's a good idea. We should definitely be giving out samples." So we sold maybe like 3 bags of coffee that entire day and went home, and then bought a Hamilton Bay or Hampton Bay 40 cup coffee maker and took that to the next one and started giving out samples. People loved the samples. They'd come buy a cup or they would get a bag, and we realized, okay, this is some momentum. And then we carried that same process into our first major, or what we call our first major wholesale account, which was a health food store called Nuts and Berries in Metro Atlanta. And when we first got inside of there, they put a bunch of bags up front and said, "New vendor, new local roaster." And it went okay. We realized that if we went and set up and started giving out samples just like we do at the fairs, people would take a sample of the coffee, say, "That's great," grab a bag, and they'd throw it in their cart and keep shopping. And I took that idea from the lady, which I cannot remember her name, who started Luna Bars. She got into Whole Foods and could not move anything because no one knows what it is. And then she started giving out samples. People are like, "Oh, I get it." So, yeah, that was part of the process, was just finding that we need to make sure that people are able to try it, which makes total sense. And then we found some success with that. And then we started doing white label and private label. But then we got into the actual coffee business, I would say, whenever it became time to open up our first brick and mortar, because that's when we are truly selling coffee. That's the main push, as opposed to beans or anything else. And then from the coffee business, we are now, I'd say, a cafe business with the brick and mortar, because we are, on some days we sell more food than we do coffee. So it's become, quite the change. But I love pivoting when necessary. It's not part of the plan, but you should always try to like stuff that you don't enjoy at the end of the day. Like I say, I love running, but I don't really like doing it. Does that make any sense? So.
Oh, yeah. And I remember in the first interview that I had with you for an article in the Cute North Georgian magazine, you said that it's not about you, that the way that you succeed is through constant critical feedback and listening to the feedback and applying it. Because I remember initially you were kind of resistant to sandwiches, but you really wanted to focus on the coffee. But after getting a lot of feedback about a desire for sandwiches and
mostly bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah, so we were just trying to figure out a vehicle to give the bacon to the person.
Yeah.
So they were just like, "Where's the bacon?" And I was just like, I didn't know that I was supposed to
be a bacon man.
Yeah, I really didn't know that was part of it. So we had a lot of people when we first opened each location that they walk in and they say, "We need bacon and eggs." And I say, "I don't know who told you we did that here, so I apologize for any confusion." And then I'll go outside and make sure it doesn't say bacon or eggs on our sign out front, and it didn't. So, we got a lot of responses to where it's like they just, like you said, they just wanted protein. So I completely understand that. We've started doing frappes, and the one I suggested, which the crew allowed to go on the menu, is the Funky Monkey. So we're trying to do bananas and peanut butter inside of an actual frappe with some espresso shots in it. So we're trying to give an authentic, solid source of protein with some espresso, with some saturated fats that come with the milks and everything. So without calling it a protein shake, we have tried to go in different ways to facilitate that for people. And this new bakery that we've been working with, who is just crushing it, Magic Oven out of Toccoa, they've made us a pizza stuffed croissant. So they've helped us find the savory stuff. Yeah, we're always looking to try to find what people want. And yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it was something that I had to realize a long time ago that it does not matter what I like as far as taste, preference, look, style, whatever you want to call it. It's if the customers don't like it, if Cornelia doesn't like it, then it doesn't matter. So yeah, we're always willing to try to find out what works. And luckily, we've developed a slew of awesome regulars, and they have all been very honest and critical of whatever we ask them about. Luckily, it's a majority good response over bad. So we're happy with all the responses, good and bad. You have to have them. So
well, I can assure you, when it comes to the Funky Monkey, my 1-year-old loves it.
Nice.
So with the toddler crowd, you're crushing it.
Perfect.
Absolutely killing it in that.
And we're looking at that crowd. We're looking at that demographic over the next 100 years as a customer base. So yes. So
clearly.
Yep.
All right, and now the name.
Okay.
Can you explain the thing with the name?
What's the thing with the name?
No one is certain what BSG stands for. I'm not entirely positive what BSG stands for because you have a different name for every time someone asks. Your answer typically is like, what do you want it to be? So my question to you is it a secret name, or can you tell us right now what is BSG? What does it stand for?
So the true, absolute, like real definition of it is a long story. And I don't know if today we would have enough time to cram it in your podcast. So just for the sake of not boring your viewers with the actual real definition of what it is, we just like to say that it is whatever you're kind of feeling that day. So be someone good is what we promote a lot, just because it seems that sometimes we all forget to do that. You might honk at somebody, you might show up a finger on your hand. That's, not really acceptable, but it's just a thing that we've had a lot of fun with. It's, legally we are just BSG Coffee and Cafe. So at the end of the day, when you look us up, it's just 3 letters. But, I don't know. I think that it's whatever suits you the most. And like I said, maybe like on the next podcast or maybe like sometime around
feature movie,
maybe like spring 2025, we'll go into the real explanation of what BSG is.
I look forward to it.
Yes, I just, I don't want to waste anybody's time right now.
It is a secret name.
Correct. And it's a mind-blowing story that gets to that, but I just don't think that.
That's something to say.
Yeah, correct. If I ever get invited back on this podcast, I have to have something to talk about. So, and I have a tendency to show all my cards. So,
all right. So we're going to move on to Dawsonville.
Okay.
You and I were both Dawsonville alumni. We both hail from D-ville.
I've spent a lot of time in Dawsonville. Yes.
As I recall, you're an alumnus of the illustrious Dawsonville High School, which leads me to my question. How did your education at this fine educational institution prepare you in any way for entrepreneurship?
So Dawson County has a great group of teachers and administrators. They have a solid sports program. And they've spent a lot more money recently in developing their sports programs. They've got some new facilities. But to just be fair, when I was there, they did not have a small business program. It was literally being enacted maybe a couple of years after me. So, and just to be brutally honest to your viewers, and just to be a little transparency, like behind the curtain of a barista, I was not pursuant of being the honor roll or the valedictorian. My main goal was to make other students laugh or get in trouble with me. Getting someone else kicked out of class with me was always hilarious. I don't know. I really, if I found a teacher that would, say something incorrect, and if I was like, hey, I've got the right answer, I would die on a hill to, prove a teacher wrong. I was just a hellion, to be honest. So Dawsonville did not fail me. I failed Dawson County. I was not a good student. I'll just put it that way.
And I will agree that it's a good school, and there's in the sense institutionally, but there's a culture in Dawson High School that is very unique and specific to Dawsonville, and that we all look on, if you're from there, with a strange affection. Other people might look on with other adjectives, but I think that when we talk about Dawsonville, those of us that lived there, that walked those hallowed halls, we do have a strange affection for it.
Yeah, I think that, the characteristics of Dawsonville make it super unique. There's like three big topics that come up frequently in Dawsonville, and once you're in the thick of it, that's when you're able to enjoy it. And if you can enjoy them all at the same time, that's even better. But there is, in no particular order, there's moonshine, which is huge in Dawsonville. It was a large moonshine running facility, and it's the birthplace of NASCAR. So NASCAR would be number 2. It's gigantic up there as well. And then you can trade number 3 for a number of things, whether it be the pool room, Bert's Pumpkin Farm, Uncle Shuck's corn maze. But you can enjoy all 3 of those at the same time. You can watch NASCAR with moonshine and then be at Bert's Pumpkin Farm.
It's a bit of a pumpkin mecca.
It is.
I've learned. Because there's another one on the block called Bradley's Pumpkin Farm.
The competition is heating up in Dawsonville for pumpkin superiority. But Bert's is an empire. I'm familiar with some of the family members, and they do not mess around when it comes to gourds and yes, they are serious. So best of luck to Brad's Pumpkin Patch against Bert's, dude. Bert's is bringing. Yeah, they're serious. They employed about half of the high school students at some point in time.
Well, they didn't employ me because my first job at 17 years old was at the McDonald's in Dawsonville.
Nice.
What
year would that be?
This would be 2012.
Yeah, you probably served something.
At some point, yeah. It's the one at the Nexus of 453, right? And, and that leads me to my next question. You kind of walked into it a little bit. Did you ever cone anybody? Were you part of the coning trend in Dawsonville at that time?
No coning.
No coning. Good. Okay. Now, my last question to Dawsonville, because it has to be asked. If you're a Dawson native, then you know about the nuclear plant.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the first things they told me about when I moved there.
We're very excited, very proud of this nuclear plant.
There were stories of two-headed deer, glow-in-the-dark snakes, all sorts of goofy stuff. The
two-headed deer was my gym teacher.
Okay. Nice. Well, I'm glad that that even amongst,
Very inclusive.
Yes. I'm glad that Dawsonville was able to finally incorporate some of the different character from the craft into their school system.
All right. So back to coffee. Coffee and community, because those two go together like coffee and community, right? So how does BSG Coffee contribute to the community? Are there any local initiatives or collaborations that you're particularly proud of?
So we're fairly new to Cornelia, and we've been working with sort of, I call it whoever just approaches us. We don't have sort of a group that we were wanting to focus on when we arrived here. It's more or less just kind of who's doing a hyper-local impact. So what we found, and we've been really happy to work with, is the Kiwanis Club. They help supply underprivileged children with school supplies and clothing and stuff like that. So this year they started a clothing drive. So we got to put the box out front and help them just get some clothing for the kids as they started the school system this year. And then, we always just, like I said, whoever approaches us. So there's been some middle schools and high schools and their sports teams that have asked us to sponsor, provide some ad revenue for their
Did you tell them to get out?
every other group, we tell them to leave. So,
The door hit them on the way out.
correct. So we don't have a no soliciting sticker, but I have just an interior policy of every other person that solicits, we kick out.
Like if they have pigtails, then just
Well, not even. It's just every other. We just leave it up to chance. So, I mean, you could just walk right back in and you would be the next solicitor. So
you guys you just learned.
it's an easy system to do. If you want to solicit here, come on in. If we boot you out, just wait like 10 minutes, come back in, maybe put on a different hat, and you'll get us every time.
Right.
Our
And
marketing budget is super slim, so just consider that.
he still hasn't bought an ad for me. So,
See,
and I don't think we'll ever see a BSG billboard. I forgot how you put it. If we ever saw a BSG billboard, what were the circumstances around that?
that I've just ran out of ideas. I'm not opposed to traditional marketing. It's just to me that's branding, and currently we're trying to market ourselves. We're trying to promote what we do, who we are, what we have.
And you studied marketing.
Somewhat, yes,
You
somewhat.
make those flyers.
I have studied more marketing outside of school, if that makes any sense, than in school.
He's read a lot of books. Like I've seen them. And we've actually read a lot of the same ones.
Yeah,
Like
I know I don't look like a book reader, but sometimes
no, we've read a lot of the same books. Moments, The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell.
It's awesome.
Right?
Big fan.
What was Moments again? What's the full name? If you are a business maven or a marketing maven, this book is transformational. But essentially, this book explains how to turn events into moments, right? For instance, ways to make people remember you in a meaningful way.
But the book will not help you remember book names.
That's right. That was something I was supposed to learn.
Power moments?
Yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, it's an amazing book. And his flyers really are great. Okay, so we hosted Princess Night. We did a co-hosting event a little while ago.
Correct.
And while I was leading a group of children in song, do you want to share where you were at?
Well, and I don't think I formally introduced myself, but I am the Chief Custodial Officer for BSG, which means I handle everything, sanitization, cleaning, trash removal. And so what she's referring to is during the sing-along, is that what you want to call it?
Yeah,
Sing-along.
all of that.
Whenever all of the children's voices were at a much higher octave, I would just make sure that all of our trash was emptied out. So where I was just for taking trash to the dumpster. It was not really anything significant. It's just a day-to-day process that I do.
Do you usually do that several times in a shift?
Not normally.
Multiple times, not normally?
Not normally, but what I wanted to make sure was that with these princesses being in here, I didn't want them to see overflowing waste buckets.
They were very discerning.
Yes.
I know that you're trying to put that demographic, so.
We also brag that we have the I'm going to say it. We have the nicest bathroom on the street, and if anybody wanted to challenge us,
But you.
show up, But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the princesses had clean facilities while they were singing along here. It literally has nothing to do with the fact that when 20 to 30 little girls are all singing Disney songs, that I start to get panicked and have to go outside sometimes. But yeah, definitely wasn't the singing. It wasn't bad. It was just a lot.
Just wanted it to be clean.
I just wanted to keep a clean facility here.
That is so nice. All right, the craft of coffee. So let's talk about your coffee selection. What makes BSG coffee unique? And how do you source your beans?
So we go through farming co-ops, and a farming co-op is generally a bunch of small mom and pop farmers who have all decided to work in unison, so to speak. They produce the same origin strands, and they will bundle them up to facilitate orders of certain sizes. But it gives a lot more power to each farmer as opposed to going through a large production facility where it is generally a corporation with the farmers being employees underneath them. This allows the subdivision of lots down to like quarter acres to where it's just these small minimal plots where each person can essentially rent out the space, grow their coffee, and then add it to the pile. But we go through what we call fair trade practice, meaning everything is naturally grown, naturally washed, and then dried. We don't work with any middlemen. Rev Coffee Roasters, Rev Cafe now, they've kind of done their own spin-off into Marietta Coffee Roasters, but we've been working hand in hand with them since day one. We use their facilities to roast the beans, and they help us with the imports and the logistics and everything else. And yeah, we could not do anything without Nick and the crew over there. But yeah, the nuts and bolts of all that is try to keep it natural, straight from the farm, get it here green and fresh, and yeah, roast it, bag it weekly. So doing all of that, we've been able to brag that we try to have some of the best beans in North Georgia. That's a tough moniker to go for because there's a lot of really awesome roasters in North Georgia. So we don't know about that, but there definitely should be a coffee festival that maybe the Cute North Georgian should put on, and we'll do like a big blind cupping contest where you can just let everybody try coffees out, do their rating, and we'll let the people decide. I think that would be a cool competition.
Kind of like at the mountain festival, they have the jams and the pies. Coffee, I like that. It's a great idea.
Coffee cook-off.
Better than a chili cook-off.
Yes, those get a lot. I've hosted chili cook-offs up in Hayesville and announced them as well, and sampled so much. And it's just a tough. It's not sustainable. It's like a 2 to 3 hour day, and you gotta leave.
What is your favorite coffee or drink on the menu?
Jake's Classic.
Okay.
It's Ethiopian blonde roast coffee, and I try to think of when I say favorite, it's something that I could drink every day. So it would be something that is caffeinated, tastes good, doesn't need anything, and it changes yearly. The acidity level in that farming region is constantly changing with rainfall levels, volcanic disruption, if you want to call it that, the shifting of silt, sand, and nutrients. So every harvest, Jake's Classic tastes a little bit different. So I'd say that's my favorite because it's always changing.
No one's Jake's Classic and Magic Blue Bus. Probably my most regular order.
Like the blondes.
I do. And as I understand it, blonde roasts are actually the more caffeinated version, right? More than dark roast.
You are about to ruin a lot of people's day, yes. Blonde roast coffee is the more caffeinated side of the spectrum, whereas the longer you roast it, the darker the roast, the more oil and caffeine you're losing. So.
Okay. And for listeners that might not be coffee aficionados, can you share some tips on how to appreciate coffee?
Well, they just need to remember they don't have to. Don't let people peer pressure you into drinking coffee. Don't let us peer pressure you. We have an awesome chai menu up now. We do matchas. We do tea lattes. We try to be a cafe that will give you a lot of different options besides just coffee because it is a taste that is subjective to who you are. But I think that if you wanted to try to get away from Folgers or Maxwell House, or if you're trying to get away from your Keurig, I would say to go to a local cafe and see if there's any cuppings available and just do a cupping somewhere and just taste a bunch of different coffees because eventually you'll be like, oh, I like that one. And then I would just go from there, figure out where that bean comes from, figure out what that roast is. And then you can say, all right, I know that I like Sumatrans and I like medium roast. And then you can just try everybody else's medium Sumatrans. So
you think there's a strain out there for just about it?
for 95% of people, there's going to be something that you can drink and it's not going to make you just react violently and aggressively. I think that there's always going to be something for somebody. It's not like ice cream where, most people love it right off the rip, but it's something that it's less of something you have to acquire than beer to me. I think it's a lot more easy to understand, and I think that humans have been drinking it for so long that our taste buds are just kind of adapted for it now. It's like we're just we're good at processing caffeine. So
Right. And our rapid fire question. So answer these between 5 to 10 words. What is the first thing you do every morning?
get out of bed.
All right. Fantastic. What is your go-to coping mechanism when sad?
Crying in the closet.
What
You
is
feel in the closet right under there. So if you ever need to go cry in there, just knock and make sure I'm not in there.
okay? What's your go-to comfort food? So now it's stumped you.
Am I having a bad day or comfort food because it's just a good day and I'm having comfort food?
You're just having comfort food. You're not sad. You're not in the utility box.
Okay, yeah, sweet potatoes, and just some sort of, I guess tacos are my comfort food, to be honest. That's just my go-to no matter what.
I could make that every day and probably do.
Yeah, if it's a sweet comfort food, sweet potato like casserole, or perhaps if I just bake a bunch of those every week, they're pretty phenomenal with some brown sugar cinnamon. And then if it was a rough day, then I get a bag of chips and I try to eat them before I get home, and then throw away the bag so I don't see it the next day. Try to hide it.
Good.
Or like Wendy's at 11 o'clock. That's when I've had a bad week. That's when the week's horrible, and it's like this is as far as we're going with nutrition. It's gonna be Wendy's.
That's funny. My husband mentioned once that, and I didn't believe him at first. He said men just sit in parking lots and fast food restaurants and eat.
Correct.
And I didn't know if it was really a thing. And then we went to a fast food restaurant, and he showed me all of the men sitting alone in the parking lot eating fast food.
You know why?
No, they don't share.
No. Well, they're trying to eat it before they get home, and then they're gonna say, "We didn't eat anything recently. We can't wait for dinner."
Gotcha. Slick.
Yes.
Um,
I think a majority of those men, they're not going home to a solid dinner. Maybe that's what we're gonna say. They're just trying to be nice. So they're getting their
not slick. They're just being dumb.
correct. They're gonna go ahead and get something to fill their bellies before they go home, and if it's not a great meal, then they just can, kind of stick at it and say, "Dang, that was great," and then everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
Correct.
The McDonald's is happy.
The corporate oligarchs are happy because you keep supporting them. Your wife is happy. You're happy. Everybody's stoked.
Well, McDonald's making people happy.
Correct. Yes, I'm glad that's what this has turned into, is us promoting.
McDonald's.
Yes. So,
Okay. If you could have coffee with any historical figure, who would it be?
oh man, do they have to like coffee too?
No. They can just kind of hang out while you drink coffee, and they can drink beer or water.
Okay, so we're not going to subjugate them.
tea.
We're not going to subjugate them to drinking coffee against their will.
No.
Okay. Good. I just want to make sure. That's a good one. Alive or dead?
Alive or dead?
And if they were dead, they're going to be alive when I'm talking to them. I'm here to bring them back for this coffee sesh.
No.
They're just going to do like a
No necromancy in the Cute North Georgian.
Okay.
That's actually one of our editorial guidelines.
I'd say Abraham Lincoln. I think that he probably a more interesting person than we give him credit for. I think he was more complicated because we just kind of stamped him with doing one or two things. getting shot and the Emancipation Proclamation. But I think I kind of look like him. And so if I did get to have coffee with him, yes, I played him in a play in like the third or fourth grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I read the Gettysburg Address off memory, and that was like one of the hardest things I had to do up to that point. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. Not a lot of confidence back then at his old age. But then, yeah, I would try to convince him that I was like his great grandchild, and I would try to see if I could get some family secrets from him.
But then you could sell a best-selling biography called Coffee with Lincoln.
Yep. Chatting with the ghost of Abe.
We'll workshop.
Yes, yeah, you'll help me out with all that. I'm just getting the interview in, so.
That's right.
Yeah, I guess old Abe would be pretty cool.
Yeah. And I agree with you, actually. I used to teach history, so I have opinions about Abraham Lincoln. But you're right. He gets off in a superficial kind of high gloss finish, but there's a lot of depth there. What is one piece of advice that you would give to aspiring small business?
Ooh. Go over your business plan like 10 times and then give it to the most critical person you know, like bring it to me and let me shred it apart. And then if you still want to do it, by all means, go for it. But
like critical feedback, right?
Correct, yes. Before you even get started, before you spend any real money on your small business, run it by a lot of people who've done something similar and let them crush your dreams as hard as they can. And then the next day, you're like, you know what? Screw that, dude. I'm still going to go do this despite what they say. I mean, the reason I'm so afraid of turning into a restaurant or opening up a restaurant is because all the people who have told me how scary it is, and the people who tell me that are restaurant owners.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a mentor of mine back in the day, he owned about 3 successful restaurants at the time of him telling me this. But I was just kind of dancing with the idea of opening up a taco truck and traveling around to the action sports arenas and selling tacos and getting to hang out with all my old buddies. And after I talked to him about it, he goes, I would not get in the restaurant business. And this was a guy who had 3 successful ones running, and he was looking to open up a 4th one. He was just kind of in it at that point, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I think that, you know, if people tell you that you shouldn't do it and then you still want to, and you can make your business plan still feasible, it has to make sense at the end of the day, because, you know, having a good idea or having a solid product or a great service does not mean a successful business. You can have the best product in the world, and if no one knows about it, then you're still dead in the water. So, yeah, I would just say let your business plan get eviscerated a bunch of times and make sure that it keeps making sense. You poke a bunch of holes in it, because if you can approach the beginning with as many of these either redundancies or unuseful processes or stuff that you think would make your business pop, and you can just strip all that down to the bare minimum and get it started and let it do a kind of a smaller rollout, then I think a safer start is always the better, especially if you're young. I mean, you're not going to have a bunch of money to toss at something. So, yeah, and then just fail a bunch. Failing's, it's like running. It is not fun as you're failing, as you're admitting it, as you're seeing all of this crumble. But immediately thereafter, if you're looking at it correctly, the time that you spent to put toward that and that real world like hurt of not getting something accomplished should reinforce your processes and systems when you go into the next one. You should be like, all right, we're not going to fail because I'm not doing this right again, you know. So,
and we've talked a lot about failure. Mm-hmm. For instance, I mentioned that, you know, I did not get into my school of choice or any school I wanted to when I graduated high school because I had dismal math SAT scores. Right. So I did not get I got into community college, went to community college. Heck yeah. And got had to take 2 remedial math courses, failed the first one. Right. And then ended up at the end of it all, though, getting into the university I wanted to, passing all of the math classes that I needed to pass to get my degree. Right. And I don't think that if I had started in my university of choice that I would have graduated.
Yeah, you might have gotten blown out of the water.
I would have. I could have never managed it. There's a reason why they want you to start at certain levels because I was not there. So even if though it was devastating at that time, the best thing in the world. I look back, I was not emotionally ready. I was not academically ready. But you're right. Sometimes failure is what saves you.
Yeah, I tell people I only learned the hard way. So it's something similar to that. It's, you can fail. Another mentor of mine, president of a chimney company, but he's a sage with a bunch of advice. But he would tell me that he's like, you are gonna mess up. I'm gonna mess up. We're gonna mess up. Everybody is gonna mess up, and not a lot of companies like saying that. If you walked into Walmart and they said, "Hey, we're all messing up over here," you'd be like, "Why are you telling me that?" But at the end of the day, to have that in the back of your mind and say, "Yes, I am going to mess up, not on purpose, but it's just going to happen, either by accident or you're just going to be ignorant to how it was going to play out." But it's a matter of how you reduce the mishap at the end. It's however you're able to turn it around and either learn from it or retain that customer, whatever it may be. If it's easy here. Replacing a cup of coffee is our policy. We'll even say we'll replace it a million times until you like it. So we're going to make sure that even if we mess up a whole bunch of times, as long as we can let you leave here with a solid product that you love, with a good service, good atmosphere, we've done it. That's the main goal, is just trying to make sure that even if it starts off rough, we end correctly,
And that's what they say in the book Moments. You want to start well, and if you can't start well, finish well.
Correct.
All right. Now, I'm going to give you 4 scenarios.
Okay.
And you have to tell me what drink you think these individuals are drinking.
Okay.
And here we go. So, scenario 1, you are Sherlock Holmes, seated before a brazier with the rhythmic ticking of a grandfather clock in the background. After a long day of solving one of Watson's chaotic blunders, you finally settle into your chair. What coffee drink are you sipping to clear your mind and restore your focus?
Can I have access to a frother?
Yes.
Okay. Sherlock, I think, was a little grungier than we'd like to think. So I feel like he was more of a big cup kind of guy. So he's not doing a macchiato. I'd say he's going to be doing a cappuccino with some extra shots and not a lot of fluff on top.
I can see that.
He wants a little bit of fluff for like a job well done, a little pat on the back.
He deserves it.
Correct. And it's just
solving all those crimes.
Yes, and then his demographic or his the demographic where he's at, it would kind of play in. So yeah, a nice fat, extra caffeinated cappuccino.
Okay. All right. Scenario 2. You are a 22-year-old Instagram influencer.
Iced matcha latte lavender. Cold foam on top.
Yoga mat tucked under her arm, fresh from a morning session, and you step into your trendy cafe ready to order. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Lavender matcha iced, shaken, cold foam on top, flavored cold foam if we can. So
it's amazing, yes.
Easy peasy.
Perfection. All right.
We got to keep them healthy.
All right. And scenario 3, you are Albert Camus, a French philosopher with a cigar clenched between your teeth, seated in a cafe in Algiers. The air is thick with thought as you reflect on existentialism and the weight of post-World War II life. As you write plague literature and ponder the absurdity of existence, what coffee drink do you order to accompany your introspection?
Cubano.
Yeah, that's perfect. Wow. Okay. And scenario 4, you are Paul Thomas Anderson, and your soul is as black as the oil he films in There Will Be Blood. What is in your coffee cup?
Just a cup of coffee. Just a cup of coffee grinds that he's slowly eating. I know that's not a typical beverage, but I feel like that's just what he's eating now.
And they couldn't suggest.
Yes.
Or eat it up with a spoon with him.
Yeah. He's literally eating it with a spoon. Like an old dust.
I think that's it. All right.
Just his mustache if he has one.
All right. So what were some upcoming events and promotions that you'd like to have?
Well, I'm definitely going to highlight your art festival coming up October 23rd.
October 26th. Close.
October 26th. I am super excited to be a part of that. We're going to try to have a couple of booths there. We're going to be there in a large capacity. I don't know what all it looks like yet, but we are stoked to be at that one. We keep seeing the response online that you're getting, and the facility is just ridiculously cool. I don't think many people know about it yet.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's the Haversham Mills complex on the Soak River. And it's in a renovated mill. I had someone look at it and tell me it's just a warehouse and we're not friends anymore. Because
you don't need those people in your life.
That's right, because it's a mill. It's not a warehouse, and it's beautiful.
I think it's going to be awesome. It's seriously going to be one of the coolest event venues around, and I think you're going to highlight it well and show it off, and it's probably going to be hosting a lot more events moving forward, I think. But just the clientele that's already been through there. I think you said the Porsche folks come through, and it's a high end place with a welcoming facade.
Oh, for sure.
And it's going to be badass. I cannot wait for your art festival there.
Thank you.
And then we are in the works with the city manager and the city of Cornelia and Main Street and all those great folks on trying to get a permit for an event on Dia de los Muertos, November 1st. It'll be a Friday evening if we can make it happen. And we want to do it the backside of our cafe in the top-notch Apple Tree Alley parking lot. Somewhat similar to the Big Red Apple Fest. That's going to be coming up. That's September 26th, I think.
And what's the response been on that? Because I've seen on my end, I get more of the computer end, where we have about 1.3 thousand followers on this event.
Yeah.
What are you kind of seeing as the more customer facing?
I think that everyone in Haversham is looking for events, and I think that this one's unique. I think that there has not been anything attempted like this. If there was, it was before I was around Cornelia, but there is a large population of the Latino community.
45%?
45, I mean, yeah, we're going to say half, just round it up. And there's not really any events out there that have been geared toward them. And then we have not reached out to them yet, but we're going to definitely be supporting it and showing up for that. But our friends, Rasmus Tigres.
Yeah, Rasmus Tigres.
Yes, they're going to be hosting an event this month as well in their parking lot. Big Latino celebration festival with food and activities. So I feel like there's going to be a big push to have a lot of events during the fall. And if everybody can show up and support, and I think that everybody will continue to host them. We've even got a turkey trot November 23rd, I believe. Should have had these written down, be more prepared, Staggs. But yeah, we're gonna myself. You're gonna be a part of it, I believe.
Or at least present in spirit and promoting it, but I don't do the 5K thing.
Yes.
After eating pie.
In spirit.
It's a rule of mine.
And Frank Wolf with Elite Therapy. He's going to be co-hosting that, and we're looking to have that run at Lake Russell. So we're in the works with a bunch of events right now. Super excited.
It's so hard with advertising.
Correct.
On my computer.
We are, we're just any way that we can team up together and do events that the community can all have fun at, or at least participate in, or I think that's just the easiest way for us to market ourselves. That's kind of how I've always done it, is instead of putting up a billboard or something, I think that if we can just have something fun, the community's involved, and they happen to come get a cup of coffee the next day or the week after because they remember us putting on that fun, whatever it was. That's just an enjoyable way that we like to market. So
I agree. I think that's awesome. And that is a wrap, guys. So don't forget to visit BSG Coffee on Hodges Street in Cornelia and to support your local businesses. Make sure to give them a follow on Instagram and Facebook.
Please, if you want to. I'm the Instagram, I'm the social media guy as well. So any complaints about our posts or lack thereof, just gear them at me. But yeah, we're excited about the fall. It's pumpkin spice latte season. We're excited about you and the magazine and the events. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of cool movers and shakers that are really trying to make Cornelia and Habersham and North Georgia awesome. So yeah, we should keep making waves, as they call it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.